ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। अरुणाचला शिवा अरुणाचला शिवा अरुणाचला शिवा अरुणाचला. My dear friends, I am going to give you sixth video on the talks by Bhagwan Sri Ramana Maharshi. I start this video with talk number 96. Major A.W. Chadwick of What Nature is the Realization of Westerners who relate that they have had flashes of cosmic consciousness. Maharshi replied, "It came as a flash and disappeared as such. That which has a beginning must also end. Only when the ever-present consciousness is realized will it be permanent. Consciousness is indeed always with us. Everyone knows I am. No one can deny his own being. The man in deep slumber is not aware. While awake he seems to be aware, but it is the same person. There is no change in the one who slept and the one who is now awake. In deep sleep he was not aware of his body. There was no body consciousness. In the wakeful state he is aware of his body. There is body consciousness. Therefore the difference lies in the emergence of body consciousness and not in any change in the real consciousness. The body and body consciousness arise together and sink together. All this amounts to saying that there are no limitations in deep sleep, whereas there are limitations in the waking state. These limitations are the bondage, the feeling the body is I is the error. This false sense of I must go. The real I is always there. It is here and now. It never appears anew and disappears again. That which is must also persist forever. That which appears anew will also be lost. Compare deep sleep and waking. The body appears in one state but not in the other. Therefore, the body will be lost. The consciousness was pre-existent and will survive the body. In fact, there is no one who does not say I am. The wrong knowledge of I am the body is the cause of all the mischief. This wrong knowledge must go. That is realization. Realization is not acquisition of anything new, nor it is a new faculty. It is only removal of all camouflage. Major Chadwick again asks a question. But people will not be content with the simplicity, they want complexity. Maharshi replied, quite so, because they want something elaborate and attractive and puzzling. So many religions have come into existence and each of them is so complex and each creed in each religion has its own other ends and antagonists. For example, an ordinary Christian will not be satisfied unless he is told that God is somewhere in the far off heavens, not to be reached by us unaided. Christ alone knew him and Christ alone can guide us. Worship Christ and be saved. If told the simple truth, the kingdom of heaven is within you, he is not satisfied and will read complex and far-fetched meaning in such statements. Mature minds alone can grasp the simple truth in all its nakedness. Major Chadwick later expressed a certain involuntary fear while meditating. He feels the spirit separated from the gross body and the sensation creates a fright. Maharshi replied, to whom is the fright? It is all due to the habit of identifying the body with the self. Repeated experience of separation will make one familiar and the fright will cease. 19th November 1935, talk number 97. One Mr. Ramachandra, a gentleman from Ambala, asked where the heart is and what realization is. Maharshi, the heart is not physical, it is spiritual Hirdayam, that is Hirat plus Ayam. This is the center. It is that from which thoughts arise, on which they subsist, and where they are resolved. The thoughts are the content of the mind and they shape the universe. The heart is the center of all. Yatova imani bhutani jayante, that from which these beings come into existence, etc., is said to be Brahma in the Upanishads. That is the heart. Brahma is the heart. How to devotee, how to realize the heart? Maharshi, there is no one who even for a trice fails to experience the self, for no one admits that the he ever stands apart from the self. He is the self is the heart. Devotee, it is not clear. Maharshi, in deep sleep you exist, awake you remain. The same self is in both states. The difference is only in the awareness and the non-awareness of the world. The world rises with the mind and sets with the mind. That which rises and sets is not the self. The self is different, giving rise to the mind, sustaining it and resolving it. So the self is the underlying principle. When asked who you are, you place your hand on the right side of the breast and say, I am. There you involuntarily point out the self. The self is thus known, but the individual is miserable because he confounds the mind and the body with the self. This confusion is due to wrong knowledge. Elimination of wrong knowledge is alone needed. Such elimination results in realization. Devotee, how to control the mind? Maharshi, what is mind? Whose is the mind? Devotee, mind always wanders, I cannot control it. Maharshi, it is the nature of the mind to wander. You are not the mind. The mind springs up and sinks down. It is impermanent, transitory, whereas you are eternal. There is nothing but the self. To inhere in the self is the thing. Never mind the mind. If its source is sought, it will vanish, leaving the self unaffected. Devotee, no one need to seek to control the mind, so one need not seek to control the mind. Maharshi, there is no mind to control if you realize the self. The mind vanishing, the self shines forth. In the realized man, the mind may be active or inactive. The self alone remains for him. For the mind, the body and the world are not separate from the self. They rise from and sink into the self. They do not remain apart from the self. Can they be different from the self? Only be aware of the self. Why worry about these shadows? How do they affect the self? Talk number 98. Bhagwan further explained, the self is the heart is self-luminous. Light arises from the heart and reaches the brain, which is the seat of the mind. The world is seen with the mind. That's why by the reflected light of the self, it is perceived with the aid of the mind. When the mind is illumined, it is aware of the world. When it is not itself so illumined, it is not aware of the world. If the mind is turned in toward the source of light, objective knowledge ceases and self alone shines forth as the heart. The moon shines by the reflected light of the sun. When the sun has set, the moon is useful for revealing objects. When the sun has risen, no one needs the moon, although the pale disk of the moon is visible in the sky. So it is with the mind and the heart. The mind is useful because of its reflected light. It is used for seeing objects. When it is turned inwards, the source of illumination shines forth by itself, and the mind remains dim and useless like the moon in daytime. Talk number 99. A sannyasi asked, it is said that the self is beyond the mind and yet the realization with the mind. Mano na manute, mansa na matam, and mansa veda maptayam. The mind cannot think it, it cannot be thought of by the mind, and the mind alone can realize it. How are these contradictions to be reconciled? Maharshi, Atman is realized with Niruta Manas, dead mind. Atma is realized by Mirta Manas, dead mind, that is mind devoid of thoughts and turned inward. Then the mind sees its own source and becomes that. It is not as the subject perceiving an object. When the room is dark, a lamp is necessary to illumine and eyes to cognize the object. But when the sun is risen, there is no need of a lamp, and the objects are seen. And to see the sun, no lamp is necessary. It is enough that you turn your eyes toward the self-luminous sun. Similarly, with the mind, to see the objects, the reflected light of the mind is necessary. To see the heart, it is enough that the mind is turned towards it. Then the mind loses itself and the heart shines forth. Talk number 100. Later Sri Bhagavan quoted from Kaivalya some verses and explained the supreme knowledge, absolute witness, the self-shining core, the heart, the self. The individual, the jiva, the knower, consisting of virti, the mode of mind, stuff and reflected light in the latent form, leads to the internal intellect and the outgoing mind, buddhi and manas, consisting of virti and reflected light as a sprout. This is the antahakarana, the inner organ. It is split modes taking shape as objects, common knowledge, together form the world as we perceive it. The pure knowledge, the jiva, parmatar, the knower, the intellect and the mind, parmana, perception, moods and knowledge, phala chaitanya. The modes of mind take shape as external objects and the light reflected on the modes illumine the object. Now, of mind, look for light illumining them. The mind becomes still and the light remains self-shining. The undulating mind, that is the mind associated with the rajas, activity and tamas, darkness, is commonly known as the mind. Devoid of rajas and tamas, it is pure and self-shining. This is self-realization. Therefore, the mind is said to be the means for it. C. Pure consciousness, said to be the eternal or the ever-present witness, antahakarana, inner organ, plus the reflected light, that is jiva plus parmatar. Moods together with the light are said to be parmeya, the knower. Of these the objects are gross and the light is called phala chaitanya. In the jiva, the inner organ, antahakarana, consists of sattva, knowledge light, rajas, moods of mind, intellect mind, tamas, gross objective, the world. Similarly for the cosmos, the cosmic mind, the eternal being, sattva, Ishvara, the Lord of the universe, rajas, the individual jiva, tamas, the universe, Brahma, Sat being called the Adhara, the substratum, Chitta, knowledge, Ananda, bliss, called Vishesha, differentiation by Maya, natural the universe or the world, artificial multiplicity of objects. Maya cannot obscure Sat, but it does obscure Chit and Ananda, making them appear as particulars. A rope corresponds to being substratum. Up in dim light, Maya illusion appears as a snake, the artificial particular as shown in E. G. Sat being the substratum, Adhara. From this proceeds the particular, namely the Jiva who, veiled by ignorance, identifies himself with the gross body. Here ignorance stands for not investigating the self. Jiva is in fact knowledge only, yet owing to ignorance the wrong identity with the gross body results. Again the master illustrated it with the red hot iron ball, tapta ahya pindavat. A ball of iron plus fire together form red hot iron ball. The world plus chit, pure knowledge together form the jiva, the individual. Talk number 101. A gentleman from Ambala asked what is the rationalistic explanation of Draupadi's sari becoming endless. Maharshi, spiritual matters cannot be fitted into rationalism. Spirituality is transcendental. The miracle was after Draupadi had surrendered herself. The secret lies in surrender. Devotee, how to reach the heart? Maharshi, where are you now that you want to reach the heart? Are you standing apart from the self? Devotee, I am in my body. Maharshi, in a particular spot or all over? Devotee, all over I am extending all over the body. Maharshi, where from do you extend? Devotee, I do not know. Maharshi, yes, you are always in the heart. You are never away from it in order that you should reach it. Consider how you are in deep sleep and in the waking state. These states are also not yours. They are of the ego. The consciousness remains the same and undifferentiated all through. Devotee, I understand, but I cannot feel so. Maharshi, whose is the ignorance? Find it out. Devotee, all this is so difficult. Maharshi, the idea of difficulty is itself wrong. It will not help you to gain what you want. Again I ask, who finds it difficult? Devotee, I see that I am coming round to I. Maharshi, because you are always that and never away from that. There is nothing so simple as being the self. It requires no effort, no aid. One has to leave off the wrong identity and be in his eternal, natural, inherent state. Talk number 102. He returned with a request. Next day he said, it is said that one should receive instruction from a guru. Mere reading of books is not helpful. I have read many books, but there is no practical help derived from such learning. Please tell me what I should do, how I should do it, at what times, in which places, and so on. The master remained silent. His silence seemed to say, here and now be at peace and tranquil. That's all. But the questioner could not interpret it, and that way he wanted something concrete. Talk number 103. The next day Sri Bhagwan said, these people want some japa, dhyana or yoga or something similar. Without their saying what they have been doing so far, what more can be said to them? Again, why japa, its Falasruti, etc. Who is it that makes the japa? Who gets the fruits thereof? Can they not look to the self? Or again, even if instructed by others to do japa or dhyana, they do it for some time but are always looking to some results. For example, visions, dreams or thaumaturgic powers. If they do not find them, they say they are not progressing or the tapas is not effective. Visions, etc., are no signs of progress. Mere performance of tapas is its progress also. Steadiness is what is required. Moreover, they must entrust themselves to their mantra or their god and wait for its grace. They don't do so. Japa, even once uttered, has its own good effect, whether the individual is aware or not. 28th November 1935, talk number 104. Mrs. Kishori Lal, an officer of the Railway Board, Government of India, hails from Delhi. He looks simple, gentle and dignified in behavior. He has gastric ulcer and has arranged for his board and lodging in the town. 5 years ago, he took up the study of devotional literature. He is a bhakta of Sri Krishna. He could feel Krishna in all that he saw. Krishna often appeared to him and made him happy. His work was going on without any effort on his part. Everything seemed to be done for him by Krishna himself. Later he came in contact with a Mahatma who advised him to study Vedanta and take to Nirankara Upasana, that is devotion to formless being. He has since read about 700 books of philosophy and Vedanta, including the Upanishads, Ashtavakra, Avadhuta, and Srimad Bhagavad Gita. He has also studied Sri Bhagwan's works in English and is much impressed by them. Once when he was in the jaws of death, no other thought haunted him but that he had not yet visited Sri Bhagwan in his life. So he has come here on a short visit. He prays only for Sri Bhagwan's touch and his grace. The master said to him, Atmaya Vaham Guda Kesa, that is, I am Atma. Atma is the Guru and Atma is grace also. No one remains without the Atma. He is always in contact. No external touch is necessary. My dear friends, all of us are also out of our ignorance. Wait for somebody to come and help. It is good somebody will come, but make sure your own self itself is Guru. That is also, have faith in you. And once you start having faith in yourself, a physical Guru is likely to come any time in future. So God sends the Guru in any form. God himself may come in the form of a physical Guru, or a physical Guru may appear and help you. So first thing, you start believing in your own self. That is the most important point. And surrender to God. Now it will be the worry of God to help you. He may himself come in any other form. He may come in the physical form, or he may send some other physical Guru to help you. But first thing, start believing in yourself. So grace is also obtained from the self which lies within your spiritual heart. Start, believe in yourself. That is the most important point. Now further, devotee, I understand, I do not mean external touch, Maharshi. Nothing is more intimate than the Atma. Devotee, again Sri Krishna appeared to me 3 months back and said, why do you ask me for Nirankara Upasana? It is only Sarva Bhutesu cha Atmanam, Sarva Bhutani cha Atmani, the self in all and all in the self. Mercy, that contains the whole truth. Even this is Aupacharika, indirect. There is in fact nothing but the Atma. The world is only a projection of the mind. The mind originates from the Atma. So Atma alone is the one being. Devotee, yet it is difficult to realize. Maharshi, there is nothing to realize. It is Nitya Shuddha Buddha Mukta, the eternal, pure, aware and liberated state. It is natural and eternal. There is nothing new to gain. On the other hand, a man must lose his ignorance, that's all. This ignorance must be traced to its origin. To whom is this ignorance? Of what is one ignorant? There are the subject and the object. Such a duality is characteristics of the mind. The mind is from the Atma. Devotee, yes, ignorance itself cannot exist. He finally surrendered, saying, just as a doctor learns what is wrong with the patient and treats him accordingly, so may Sri Bhagwan do with me. He also said that he had lost all the inclination to the study of books and learn from them. Talk number 105. Maharshi, no, not so. The method is only one. Uddalaka started teaching Sat Eva Somaya. There is only being, illustrating it with Svetaketu's fast. Number 1, Sat, the being in the individual, is made obvious by the fast. Second, this Sat being is similar in all as honey gathered from different flowers. Third, there is no difference in the Sat of individuals as illustrated by the state of deep sleep. The question arises, if so, why does each know it in the sleep? Because the individuality is lost, there is only Sat left. Illustration, rivers lost in the ocean. If lost, is there Sat? Fifth, surely as when a tree is pruned, it grows again. That is a sure sign of its life, but is it there even in that dormant condition? Sixth, yes, take the instance of salt and water. The presence of the salt in water is subtle. Though invisible to the eye, it is recognized by other senses. How is one to know it? What is the other means? 7. By inquiry, as the man left in the Gandhara forest regained his home. 8. In evolution and involution, in manifestation and resolution, Sat alone exists. Tejaha prasayam, devatayam, the light merges in the supreme. 9. An insincere man is hurt by the touch of fire test. His insincerity is brought out by fire. Sincerity is self-evident. A true man or a self-realized man remains happy without being affected by the false appearance, namely the world, birth and death, etc., whereas the false or ignorant man is miserable. 29th November 1935. Talk number 106. Swami Yogananda with 4 others arrived at 8:45 a.m. He looks big but gentle and well groomed. He has dark flowing hair hanging over his shoulders. The group had lunch in the ashramam. Talk number 106. Swami Yogananda with 4 others arrived at 8:45 a.m. He looks big but gentle and well groomed. He has dark flowing hair hanging over his shoulders. The group had lunch in the ashramam. Mr. C.R. Wright, his secretary, asked, how shall I realize God? Maharshi, God is an unknown entity. Moreover, He is external, whereas the Self is always with you and it is you. Why do you leave out what is intimate and go in for what is external? Devotee, what is this Self again? Maharshi, the Self is known to everyone but not clearly. You always exist. The being is the Self. I am is the name of God. Of all the definitions of God, none is indeed so well put as the biblical statement, I am that I am, in Exodus chapter number 3. There are other statements such as Brahmavaham Aham Brahmasmi and Soham, but none is so direct as the name Jevoha. I am the absolute being is what is, it is the self, it is God knowing the self, God is known, in fact God is none other than the self. Devotee, why are there good and evil? Maharshi, they are relative terms. There must be a subject to know the good and evil. That subject is the ego. Trace the source of the ego, it ends in the self. The source of the ego is God. This definition of God is probably more concrete and better understood by you, devotee. So it is how to get bliss. Maharshi, bliss is not something to be got. On the other hand, you are always bliss. This desire is born of the sense of incompleteness. To whom is the sense of incompleteness? Enquire. In deep sleep you were blissful. Now you are not so. What has interposed between that bliss and this non-bliss? It is the ego. Seek its source and find your bliss. There is nothing new to get. You have, on the other hand, to get rid of your ignorance while makes you think that you are other than bliss. For whom is this ignorance? It is to the ego. Trace the source of the ego, then the ego is lost and bliss remains over. It is eternal. You are that here and now. That is the master key for solving all doubts. The doubts arise in the mind. The mind is born of the ego. The ego rises from the self. Search the source of the ego and the self is revealed. That alone remains. The universe is only expanded self. It is not different from the self. Devotee, what is the best way of living? Maharshi, it differs according as one is a jnani or a jnani. A jnani does not find anything different or separate from the self. All are in the self. It is wrong to imagine that there is the world, that there is a body in it and that you dwell in the body. If the truth is known, the universe and what is beyond it will be found to be only in the self. The outlook differs according to the sight of the person. The sight is from the eye. The eye must be located somewhere. If you are seeing with the gross eyes, you find others gross. If with subtle eyes, that is the mind, others appear subtle. If the eye becomes the self being infinite, the eye is infinite. There is nothing else to see different from the self. He thanked Maharshi. He was told that the best way of thinking is to remain always as the self. Talk number 107. Later the yogi asked, how is the spiritual uplift of the people to be effected? What are the instructions to be given them? This yogi means Swami Yogananda. Maharshi, they differ according to the temperaments of the individuals and according to the spiritual ripeness of their mind. There cannot be any instruction en masse. Devotee, why does God permit suffering in the world? Should He not with His omnipotence do away with it at one stroke and ordain the universal realization of God? Maharshi, suffering is the way for realization of God. Devotee, should He not ordain differently? Maharshi, it is the way. Devotee, are yoga, religion, etc. antidotes to suffering? Maharshi, they help you to overcome suffering. Devotee, why should there be suffering? Maharshi, who suffers? What is suffering? No answer. Finally, the yogi rose up, prayed for Sri Bhagwan's blessing for his own work and expressed great regret for his hasty return. He looked very sincere and devoted and even emotional. Swami Yogananda has set up his ashrama in USA. His guru Swami Yuktananda instructed him to go to Western countries, especially America, and teach the Vedanta teachings to the Western people because they need the teachings of Vedanta. Especially in his ashram, Kriya Yoga is taught. So this is a very, very ancient Indian process of yoga. Talk number 108. In continuation of dialogue 105, Uddalaka explained that all proceeds from Sat as illustrated by deep sleep. The body takes food. Food requires water. Water requires heat to digest the food. Tejo mula in vicha. It is Sat prayasam devatayam. Merged in the being. If we are Sat Samparnaha, merged in the being, how is it that we do not realize it? Maharshi replies, just as the honey gathered from different flowers form the bulk in a honeycomb, and each drop does not indicate where from it has been collected, so also Sat Samparnaha in deep sleep, death, etc. People do not recognize their individualities. They slip into what state unaware, but when they wake up they regain their original individual characteristics. Devotee, honey, though collected from different flowers, become the bulk and does not possess individual characteristics. But the individual parts do not also exist in the drop, and they do not return to their sources. Whereas the individuals, after going to deep sleep, wake up individuals as formerly. How is it? Mercy, just as the rivers discharged into the ocean lose their individuality, still the waters evaporate and return as rain on the hills and through rivers to the ocean, so also the individuals going to sleep lose their individualities and yet return as individuals according to their previous vasanas unawares. Thus even in death Sat is not lost. Devotee, how can that be? Maharshi, see how a tree whose branches are cut grows again. So long as the life source is not affected, it will grow. Similarly, the samskaras, anamnesis sink into the heart in death. They do not perish. They will in right time sprout forth from the heart. That is how the jivas are reborn. Devotee, how does the wide universe sprout forth from such subtle sanskaras remaining sunk in the heart? Maharshi, just as a big banyan tree sprouts from a tiny seed, so the wide universe with the names and forms sprout forth from the heart. Devotee, if the origin is Sat, why is it not felt? Maharshi, the salt in the lump is visible. It is invisible in solution, still its existence is known by taste. Similarly, Sat, though not recognized by the intellect, can still be realized in a different way, that is, transcendentally. Devotee, how? Maharshi, just as a man blindfolded and left by robbers in a jungle enquires his way home and returns there, so also the ignorant one, blinded by ignorance, enquires of those not so blinded and seeks his own source and returns to it. 13th December 1935, talk number 109. Two gentlemen from Ambala, the Punjab, had been here for a few weeks. Just before taking leave of Sri Bhagwan, one of them asked how he should remove the spiritual drowsiness of his friends or of other people in general. Maharshi, have you removed your own spiritual drowsiness? The force which is set up to remove your own drowsiness will also operate in other centers. There is the willpower with which you can act on others, but it is on a lower plan and not a desirable. Take care of yourself first. Devotee, how to remove my own drowsiness, Maharshi? Whose drowsiness is it? Enquire, turn within, turn all your enquiries towards search for self. The force set up within you will operate on others also. 14th December 1935, talk number 110. An American lady asked Bhagwan what his experience of Samadhi were when suggested that she should relate her experiences and ask if they were right. She replied that Sri Bhagwan's experiences ought to be correct and should be known, whereas her own were unimportant. She thus wanted to know if Sri Bhagwan felt his body hot or cold in Samadhi, if he spent the first 3.5 years of his stay at Tiruvannamalai in prayers and so on. 16th December 1935, talk number 111. Maharshi replies, Samadhi transcends mind and speech and cannot be described. For example, the state of deep slumber cannot be described. Samadhi state can still less be explained. Devotee, but I know that I am unconscious in deep sleep. Maharshi, consciousness and unconsciousness are only moods of the mind. Samadhi transcends the mind. Devotee, still you can say what it is like. Maharshi, you will know only when you are in Samadhi. 16th December 1935, talk number 111. A Telugu gentleman asked about Brahma Bhavana. Maharshi, not to think I am Brahma or all is Brahma is itself Jivana Mukti. He asked about inspired action. Maharshi, let activities go on, they do not affect the pure self. 17th December 1935, talk number 112. Mr. P. Brunton, while reading Upadesha Manjari, came across the statement that the ego, the world and God are all unreal. He desired to use a different word for God, or at least a qualifying adjective, that is the creative force or personal God. Sri Bhagwan explained that God means Samasti, that is all that is plus the being, in the same way as I means the individual plus the being and the world means the variety plus being. The being is in all cases real, the variety and the individuals in each case unreal. So also in the union of the real and the unreal, the mixing up or the false identification is wrong. It amounts to saying Sad Asad Vilakshana, that is transcending the real and the unreal. Sat and Asat. Reality is that which transcends all concepts, including that of God. Inasmuch as the name of God is used, it cannot be true. The Hebrew word Jehovah, I am, expresses God correctly. Absolute being is beyond expression. The word cannot be replaced, nor need it be replaced. The Englishman casually said that in prehistoric ages there was spirituality but not high intellect, whereas intellect has now developed. Sri Bhagwan pointed out that intellect raises the question, whose intellect? The answer is of the self. So intellect is a tool of the self. The self uses intellect for measuring variety. Intellect is not the self nor apart from the self. The self alone is eternal. Intellect is only a phenomenon. People speak of the development of variety as being the development of intellect. Intellect was always there. Dhata yatha parvam akalpayat. The Creator created just as before. Consider your own state day by day. There is no intellect in dreamless deep sleep, but it is there now. There is no intellect in a child. It dwells with age. How could there be manifestation of intellect without its seed in the sleep state and in the child? Why go to history to teach this fundamental fact? The level of truth of history is only the level of truth of the individual. Talk number 113. A Telugu gentleman asked about karma yoga. Sri Bhagwan said that the man should act as an actor on the stage. In all actions there is the Sat as the underlying principle. Remember it and act. He asked about the purity of mind. Chitta Shuddhi. Sri Bhagwan said that Chitta Shuddhi is to engage in one thought only to the exclusion of all others. It is otherwise called one-pointedness of the mind. The practice of meditation purifies the mind. 23rd December 1935. Talk number 114. Baron von Wolfgang, Austrian and East German Baron asked, there should be harmony between knowledge of the self and knowledge of the world. They must develop side by side. Is it right? Does Maharshi agree? Maharshi, yes. Devotee, beyond the intellect and before wisdom dawns, there will be pictures of the world passing before one's consciousness. Is it so? Sri Bhagwan pointed out the parallel passage in Dakshinamurti Stotram to signify that the pictures are like reflections in a mirror. Again from the Upanishad, as in the mirror, so in the world of mains, as in the water, so in the world of Gandharvas, as shadow and sunlight in Brahmaloka. Devotee, there is spiritual awakening since 1930 all the world over. Does Maharshi agree? Maharshi said, the development is according to your sight. The Baron asked again if Maharshi would induce a spiritual trance and give him a message which is unspoken but still understandable. No answer was made. 25th December 1935. Talk number 115. Mr. M. Friedman. Even without any initial desires, there are some strange experiences for us. Where from do they arise? Maharshi, the desire may not be there now, enough if it was there before. Though forgotten by you now, it is bearing fruit in due course. That is how the Jnani is said to have prarabdha left for him. Of course, it is only according to others' point of view. Talk number 116. Devotee, Jiva is said to be bound by karma. Is it so? Maharshi, let karma enjoy its fruits. As long as you are the doer, so long you are the enjoyer. Devotee, how to get released from karma? Maharshi, see whose karma it is. You will find you are not the doer, then you will be free. This requires grace of God, for which you should pray to Him, worship Him and meditate on Him. The karma which takes place without effort, that is involuntary action, is not binding. Even a jnani is acting as seen by his bodily movements. There can be no karma without effort or without intentions, sankalpas. Therefore, there are sankalpas for all. They are of two kinds, one binding, bandha hetu, and the other mukti hetu, not binding. The former must be given up and latter must be cultivated. There is no fruit without previous karma, no karma without previous sankalpa. Even mukti must be the result of effort, so long as the sense of doership persists. Talk number 117. Ceylonese, what is the first step for realization of self? Please help me towards it. There is no use reading books. Another, this one man's request is that of us all. Mercy, quite so. If the self be found in the books, it would have been already realized. What wonder can be greater than that we seek the self in books? Can it be found there? Of course, books have given readers the sense to ask this question and to seek the self. Devotee, books are utterly useless. They may all be burnt. The spoken word alone is useful. Grace alone is useful. Others spoke according to their own light until finally they returned to the original question, but Sri Bhagwan remained silent. Talk number 118. Mr. Rangachari, a Telugu Pandit in Voorhees College at Vellore, asked about Niskam Karma. There was no reply. After a time, Sri Bhagwan went up the hill and a Shiv followed him, including the Pandit. There was a thorny stick lying on the way, which Sri Bhagwan picked up. He sat down and began leisurely to work at it. The thorns were cut off, the knots were made smooth. The whole stick was polished with a rough leaf. The whole operation took about 6 hours. Everyone was wondering at the fine appearance of the stick made of a spiky material. A seafared boy put in his appearance on the way. As the group moved off, he had lost his stick and was at a loss. Sri Bhagwan immediately gave the new one in his hand to the boy and passed on. The Pandit said that this was the matter-of-fact answer to his question. Talk number 119. Again at the same time there were 4 dogs in the ashramam. Sri Bhagwan said that those dogs would not accept any food not partaken by himself. The Pandit put the matter to the test. He spread some food before them. They would not touch it. Then Sri Bhagwan after a time put a small morsel of it into his mouth. Immediately they fell to and devoured the food. Talk number 120. Later a man brought 2 peacocks with their eyes screened. When let loose in Maharishi's presence, they flew away to a distance. They were brought back, but still they flew away. Sri Bhagwan then said, it is no use trying to keep them here. They are not ripe in their minds as these dogs. However much they try to keep the peacocks, they would not remain there even a minute. Talk number 121. Talks between the master and 2 Muslims on a previous occasion. Devotee, has God a form? Maharshi, who says so? Devotee, well, if God has no form, is it proper to worship idols? Maharshi, leave God alone because he is unknown. What about you? Have you a form? Devotee, yes, I am this and so and so. Maharshi, so then you are a man with limbs about 3.5 cubits high, with beard, etc. Is it so? Devotee, certainly. Maharshi, then do you find yourself so in deep sleep? Devotee, after waking I perceived that I was asleep, therefore by inference I remained thus in deep sleep also. Maharshi, if you are the body, why do they breathe the corpse after death? The body must refuse to be breathed. Devotee, no, I am the subtle jiva within the gross body. Maharshi, so you see that you are really formless, but you are at present identifying yourself with the body. So long as you are formful, why should you not worship the formless God as being formful? The questioner was baffled and perplexed. So Maharishi's ways of replying and satisfying the questioner were unique. So my dear friends, I end the video here. Thank you for watching and listening this video with patience. Please like, comment and share the video and subscribe my channel. Thank you my dear friends. Namaste.